Hey, what's up you guys? This is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to make a video today about boundaries, and I've made a video about boundaries in the past, but I feel like I didn't have enough life experience or just career experience to really explain it the way I want to today and with the level of depth. So today I'm going to try that out. This video is for not just social workers, but also just those in the helping space in general. So if you studied psychology, if you are interested in sociology, health and human services, anything that is oriented around helping people in some kind of way, even nursing, I think this video could be applicable for you all too, people in different medical industries. So first, I have my background in psychology and social work, and I will talk a little bit about my past and just see if anyone out there can relate to it. Maybe you can't, maybe you can. Disclaimer for this video, this may not be the case for everyone, what I'm saying. So take it with a grain of salt, take what is applicable for you and leave the rest. Okay, so anyway, when I was growing up and when I was a kid, I was always known as the good listener and the person who could really hold a lot of people's emotional intensity or emotional experiences in a way where they felt validated, they felt listened to. That was always just my role. I was always a very empathetic child, and I even remember adults in my life coming to me and venting about other people that were in our family that they were upset with or unhappy with or had some annoyance with. They didn't have the know-how to communicate effectively with whoever they had an issue with, so they would come to me and kind of use me as that venting board. And I was always a good listener. I was always pretty good at communicating, so I would try to walk adults through different situations like, oh, did you try talking to this person? How was that reaction? Have you tried this way of communicating with this person? I was like 11 or 12, and I remember being that sounding board for all of my friends, adults in my family, different family members. I just always saw that as a way of contributing value to my loved ones, looking to solidify myself as a valuable member of my tribe by basically being that sounding board, right? I was afraid that if I did not continue providing that emotional labor to loved ones, what would my worth be? Why would they want to continue to even come and talk to me or spend time with me? Because such a big portion of the time that we spent together was with me just kind of sitting back and allowing them to vent and giving them that safe space to talk about their emotions and their feelings. So from a very young age, I saw that as something that made me worthy. So I would continue to do this and, hold this space for people, not really understanding that it was an unequal dynamic and it was unfair for everyone to have me to go to, but me oftentimes struggling in silence, not having anyone else to go to with my feelings. Especially in my childhood and in my life growing up, I had some pretty deep feelings associated with just, trauma and traumatic experiences happening to me. And I never really knew who to go to and who to talk to about that. I remember talking about it with friends as they used to come to me and, vent to me. Whatever I was talking about, they somehow made it about them and the problems that they were going through. I do want to say that I think the dynamics that I've created in my life are partially because of me and what I have allowed and the boundaries that I never set. So there was a precedent set from the very beginning with relationships. I just always showed that I was okay with that kind of dynamic in my relationships. So of course, people are going to see me as the free therapist or the friend who they can go to when they want to get their feelings out or feel better about things. And of course, I don't mind doing this sometimes because that's a big benefit of relationships. However, I just have not done a great job at setting boundaries and letting people know, hey, today I can't do that. Or, I also am going through something. Can you hear me out about that and give me the space to talk to you about that as well? I haven't really done a good job in the past of explaining this to people. Okay, so anyway, that's personally kind of what my experience has been with setting boundaries in my personal life. And I think this carries over professionally for many social workers and those in the helping profession as well, because I see that we tend to be very empathetic people. We tend to all be that person in our family or in our friendship group who other people go to for that emotional care. We're always a sounding board for people. And I find that we take a lot of pride in that. And we sometimes allow that to be our identity, even though we are so much more than just that. We're so much more than good listeners. We're whole people who also go through our own stuff and need people to listen to us sometimes as well. So anyway, I find that when we find validation in our personal lives for so many years as being that often reflects how we decide to choose our career. Often, I think we have chosen careers in the helping profession because of that life experience that we had growing up and that value that we found in being a good listener, being the strong friend, being always available for people. So oftentimes the career that people in the helping profession choose is a trauma response. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have chosen the career or you need to get out of the career path that you're on, but I think it's just important to be aware that as humans, we all have our own shortcomings and we have our own personalities and reasons for making the decisions that we make. But I think if we have full awareness that we may have fallen into this field or this career path due to having horrible boundaries, that can at least give us a clear understanding of something that we need to make sure we work on and something that we need to strengthen within ourselves for our overall emotional health. I think as people in the helping profession, we just need to be understanding of the fact that we often are people pleasers. We also tend to be codependent. We often have the personality type where we'll go above and beyond just to get validation from others. Please love me. Please think I'm a good person. I think people in this field, have some things that they probably need to work on in therapy with someone else who can really just allow them the space to talk through what past traumas they've had and what coping mechanisms they may be using that in the long run is actually not serving them too much. In the environments that I tend to find myself in with other social workers, I do feel that there is just an overall lack of boundaries. I think social workers tend to allow people to walk all over them and put them in this position where they have to carry emotional labor and consistently have to regulate the emotions of the room or make sure the vibe is right. Make sure even if, they're not feeling up to it or they're not in a good mood, they often have to be that person who is always happy or, social workers are often put in a position where they are responsible for ensuring that those people around them feel happy and feel cared for. And in the long term, in your career and in your personal life, this can just become very emotionally taxing. And when I was doing research on the concept of emotional labor, I found that women tend to take on emotional labor in the household and in their professions more so than men. And of course, we all know that in the social work profession, women take up this field in a significantly larger number. There's definitely that correlation there, and I think it's something that we just need to be aware of. So a few tips that I wanted to share on how you can ensure that you're taking care of yourself and setting strong boundaries in your personal lives as well as your professional lives. First off, just know that if you are someone who's going to school to be a social worker or to do something in psychology, understand that people in your family are going to think that they have a free psychologist now, that they have a therapist in their back pocket that they can always call on. So you really have to set boundaries from the very beginning when you start to see that people are viewing you in that way. Just because you're going to school to be a therapist does not mean that you want to practice that on all of your friends and family. And of course, if you are going to school for that, you're a naturally good listener, you're naturally a pretty caring person, but you have to be clear with them that, what you're going to school for is your profession and that you're going to need to take breaks in your personal life away from constantly helping people and that you're not always interested in hearing about, the millions of problems going on in your friends' lives or your family members' lives as well. So you have to just set those boundaries. And one thing that I'm gonna do is set kind of a precedent with my friends to where we ask each other, hey, I am going through some things and I want to share it with you. Do you have the space right now to hold this information? Or do you have the capacity to listen to my problems today? And I want my friends to feel comfortable telling me, hey, I can only listen for a few minutes today, but I'm also going through some things, so I can't really provide you with that kind of support for too long today. And I want to also, in return, feel comfortable saying that to my friends as well. I think it's just really important, especially given this time that we're living in right now. Like, we all are still coming out of this huge 2+ year pandemic. And I think we're all emotionally exhausted to a certain extent. The level of, emotional labor we can take on for our family and friends, I think right now is just not what it used to be. And we all just need a break. Normalizing having those kind of conversations and asking your loved ones for permission to dump on them emotionally is really important. And also, I think it's important when you're entering into the field of social work to constantly check in with yourself, see what kind of break you need, whether it's taking some days off of work or switching to a different job within your chosen profession. So one thing I talk about on my channel is direct practice social work versus macro social work, meso social work. I think from my channel, if you've been watching, you know that there's different types of social work that you can do. And direct practice tends to be a bit more emotionally taxing than other types of social work. If you are someone who is very sensitive to hearing the emotions of others or that sort of thing, you may have to know that there has to be a deadline with how long you do direct practice social work. I think that's something you just have to consider for yourself, because everyone is not capable of being someone's therapist or case manager, doing that kind of work for 10, 20 years of their career. Some people can do it and great job for them, but a lot of people just will not be healthy if they sustain that type of career for a significant period of time. So I think you have to check in with yourself with the work that you're doing and make that call around how long you think you can emotionally handle it. And also, as I said, I'm not gonna harp on this too much, but yeah, actually take your time off and don't feel bad about it. I know it's hard for us to do that because we are people pleasers, and social workers do tend to always wanna be available for everyone at every time. Oftentimes that's how we find value, which I think is toxic. However, it's the truth. So even if you do feel bad about taking PTO or taking time off, do it anyway because you need it. And even if you do switch from direct practice to meso social work, where you're, working with groups of people or working on behalf of groups of people, or if you do macro social work where you're doing more of that high level kind of social work, even that can be emotionally taxing as well. So I think it's something that you need to be aware of. When you are in these positions, it is going to be an expectation that you are always a people person and you always have a positive attitude, is someone that everyone can always feel comfortable reaching out to or coming to if they need to talk. It's important for you to understand that so that you can continuously check in with yourself, ensure that your needs are being met as well. Whether that's getting a therapist, whether that's taking more time off, having conversations with your manager about what you are capable of doing and are not capable of doing. Just setting those boundaries. Yes, being a good listener is important. Being there for other people, whether it's personally and professionally, that's important, and that's how you build strong relationships. However, it should be understood that that goes two ways and that relationships are a give and take. But this is a conversation I wanted to talk to you all about. Please let me know if you related to anything I said in the video. In your personal and professional life, do you find yourself being that person that people always go to when they have problems, always having to, be that listening ear? And if so, how does that impact you? How do you set boundaries for yourself so you're not in a position where you're completely emotionally taxed and your cup is completely empty. And for me, it's a constant work in progress. So I would love to have the conversation with people who are similar to me and get some tips as well. So please leave any tips that you have in the comment section below. Remember the importance of setting boundaries, and remember that just because other people see you as the strong friend or the one who is such a good listener and who's always there for others, that's not the whole you, and there's so many other aspects of you. There's so many other ways that you can bring and contribute value to the world. I hope this video was helpful for you all, and I will talk to you in my next one. See you later.